Be the Talk, episode 224, featuring Kendra Holmes. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Kendra Holmes. Karen, are you ready to talk?
Absolutely. Take it away.
Kendra Holmes works for the federal government. In 2018, she received the Engendered Spirit Award by Capital Pride. And in 2017, she received the Monica Roberts Advocacy Award, and she was selected by LGBTQ Nation as one of the top 50 successful transgender Americans you need to know. Kendra Holmes, welcome to the talk.
Thank you, Eli, and glad to be on your show.
Your talk is called 40 Years and Wandering No More. And like we did in one of the earlier episodes, I just want to let everybody know the purpose of Be the Talk is really to go behind the talk. And one of the ways we can do that is just to invite everyone to share their story and their perceptions and really learn and learn to listen. And so that's what I'm going to be doing in this talk as well. Again, your talk, 40 Years and Wandering No More. I love about halfway through you started. It wasn't a joke because you mentioned there are some drawbacks in terms of it takes longer to do your hair. It takes longer to button the clothes. You have to find yourself in some difficult, you called it catty conversations sometimes. Please just briefly take us behind the talk, Karen.
Well, let's start off, with the challenges that I've faced ever since I transitioned. One of the other big ones is women seem to compete against each other. And that's when at work, I actually came to work dressed normal, but apparently a few of the coworkers had said, wow, Karen looks like she's dressed to go to a nightclub or to a bar.
You're getting all prepped up to go to the bar, and you're thinking you're normally dressed.
Yeah, and I'm just normally dressed like I would go to work respectfully, and then next thing you know, I happened to talk to a coworker and a good friend, and she said, I was telling her the story, and she says, "Well, welcome to the caddy world," and I'm like, "Really? I got to deal with this now?" It's like I didn't think that was going to be an issue, but it has been.
It comes with the territory, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the discovery.
And then, you've got other situations like, what used to take me only like 5 minutes to wash my hair. Now it takes, 45 minutes to an hour. And heck, if I go to the hairdresser, it could be anywhere from 4 to 5 hours. And so that's been big challenges. Blouses on women's or buttons are on the opposite side from men's shirts. Zippers on the pants are on the opposite side. And that's been a challenge. And of course, the bathroom lines, when you go to a sporting event or, a concert, the women's bathroom lines are out the door and down the hallway, So it's like, wow.
Well, literally how the other half lives.
Exactly. And it's been a challenge when you look at all the differences between the two. And luckily, and I can say I've had the opportunity to see it from both sides, even though my mind has been all female for years. I just didn't really realize it till 40 years later that was what was going on.
Yeah, and you detail all of that journey of discovery that you have in the talk. Karen, I really appreciated some of the awards that you got in serving in the country. So if you could mention some of that came a little bit later in the talk, but if you'd like to elaborate on those.
Sure. Well, I'll start off with the biggest one because I joined the Maryland Defense Force in 2011. And a year later, in 2012, by the Maryland Defense Force and the Maryland State Guard Association, I received NCO, which is Non-Commissioned Officer Soldier of the Year. And then a year later, after that, by the State Guard Association of the United States, I received Soldier of the Year of the country. And that was out of, the states, 23 states that have defense soldiers. and it's about maybe 24,000 soldiers around the country, and we're all state guard. But that was a big honor to be able to receive that. And the interesting thing is, a lot of the female soldiers, didn't know who I was as being transgender, and they were all coming up to me and saying, "Great job, you're doing a wonderful job putting us out there in front." And I'm saying to myself, yeah, I feel that way because that's who I am in my mind, heart, and spirit. But I'm also doing it for the transgender community, which I can't really talk about at that point when I received those awards because nobody knew I was transgender. So behind that is,
Karen, what does it take, before you jump into the next one, what does it take to be a good soldier, in your opinion?
For me, it was just, going out, doing the things that I did naturally as far as leadership, taking responsibility, and being able to have the respect from my other soldiers to be able to say, hey, in their minds, I want to be behind somebody who knows how to lead our team. And I've had several of those, especially like when I was in IET, which is initial entry training. I ended up receiving leadership award there. So it's just been an ongoing thing as far as what I can do and the readiness that I portray as far as being able to lead a team. And we could be either on duty or off duty. They're willing to jump in behind my leadership and in my rank to say, hey, I'm with you.
When did you decide to serve?
It's funny. I've always wanted to serve for years, but I never jumped into it. And after I transitioned, which was full time in October 1st of 2010, a year later, I was at an event called CERT Rodeo. CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. And there, 3 of the soldiers from the Maryland Defense Force saw me in the event, and my team, and we were actually kicking butt that day, and we won like 4 awards there. And so they approached me and said, hey, we're going to be doing a special unit with our Honor Guard team and wanted to see if you wanted to be a part of it because we're going to be trying to do search and rescue in the state of Maryland. And I said, I'm in for that because that's what CERT was all about back then. And so that's what got me started into it. They actually approached me.
Well, we've been enjoying this conversation with Karen Kendra Holmes. Her talk is called 40 Years and Wandering No More. We're going to hear more from Karen when we return with the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we're back with the Blitz Round with Karen Kendra Holmes. This is when I'm going to ask Karen a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent branded talk. Karen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I was actually advised by one of the gentlemen who actually did a TED Talk prior to me meeting him, and me talking to him about my story of my 40 years of wandering no more. He basically said, have you ever done a TED Talk? And I said, no. And he said, would you be interested in doing? Because I know somebody at TEDx who would be able to talk to you about it. And from there, that person asked me to apply, and I went through the process of applying. And from there, actually went in and did a live audition for 5 minutes. And it's really tough to do almost 8 years into like 5 minutes.
8 years, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Talk so universe. If you know someone who knows someone, it can really increase your chances for sure. Back to you, Karen. Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
I am a little bit of both. I mean, it all depends on my audience. I've actually worked on a speech for like 2 weeks, and when I got up on stage, based on some banners that I saw sitting above the podium area, I read the first sentence off of my speech, and then I closed it and tossed it off to the side and said, we're going off of these 3 banners. And it happened to be a really big hit. Doing the TED Talk, I really tried my best to stay with the program because it was kind of important to stay on track with that one. So I did that.
Karen,
but most of my talks is based on, my audience. It could be like half of it, and then some of it will change.
What's a tip, tool, or a technique that helps you?
I guess my technique is just being open and honest, and just giving it from the heart. And reading the audience is what really makes my speeches go well with the audience.
This is the cut for time question. What is the most painful part that you had to cut out of this talk? You mentioned 5 minutes for 40 years of your life. What was the most painful part that you absolutely had to cut out?
I don't think I really cut out anything that was really important. I really made sure that I highlighted everything that I wanted to talk about as far as when it came to something that was painful. The one big painful part that I made sure got into my speech was about my name. And my name, which I had never told my mom, and she had never told me the story, is when she was pregnant, she said if she had a girl, she was going to name it Karen. And of course, I named myself Karen through those years, and I just totally lost it. So I wanted to make sure that that was definitely highlighted in my speech. But everything I pretty much got the key points in there.
I mean, that was a very powerful part of the talk, regardless of, positions, opinions. It's a little, the whole issue of transgenderism right now. Everyone's talking about it. There are shows. There's a lot of feelings all over the place. And regardless, that was a very powerful part of your talk that basically, if I realize and remember it correctly, Karen, you wanted to always be Karen, and that was, as you mentioned, your mother's name if she had a girl. And so the day that you realized that, the way that you weaved it into your story, very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very powerful. Almost as powerful as whatever that noise was. All right. Hey, just like whatever that noise was, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during your talk or right before you went on stage?
Wow. I don't think anything strange really happened. It was just the fact that I was concentrating so much on doing the speech. It was like waiting to exhale. Going out there is just, I wanted to get it over with because a lot of people were saying, are you nervous? Are you nervous? I said, no, I'm just excited to hurry up and get this thing over with because of the fact that I worked so hard to do my talk, and I've been used to doing it one way. And then 2 weeks before going on stage, one of my coaches says, let's do this in a totally different format. And it was talking about myself, my past name and my past life as Tony in a third person way. And I've never done that, and having to bring up pronouns that I didn't use since I transitioned. And that was tough.
Now, you just got awarded a fist pump from one of our other guests on the broadcast when you said, I'm excited, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. And I know that's what Simon Sinek, one of the top TED talkers of all time, he reframes it in that way. So what advice do you have for people to be able to control their nerves in that way?
Definitely practice, but sometimes practicing just doesn't always do it. I think just going out there and just give your story, be totally open, be vulnerable to people out there. And I think that's what's going to make you relax and feel more comfortable. It's worked for me so far. And people ask me all the time, are you nervous? Are you nervous? And I'm like, no, I'm used to doing my story. But now the fact that TED Talk totally changed it for me as a format, I'm now going with that because I've gotten people's opinion from both ways that have heard both speeches given each way. So I just go up and I just totally relax, just like I feel like doing this interview with you. It's like I feel totally relaxed at it.
We've been enjoying this Blitz round with Kendra Holmes, and her talk is called 40 Years and Wandering No More. If you want to watch that talk, just go to our show notes page, or you could type it into YouTube, or you can go to BeTheTalk.com. We will have a clickable link to Karen's talk in there, as well as we have a link for you to be able to connect with Karen, and that is kkholmes.com. kkholmes, HOLMES.com. And we'll be back with Karen Holmes in just a moment for the final word of advice. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back with the final word of advice with Kendra Holmes. Karen, what is it?
My final advice to everybody out there is to be yourself. For me personally, and I said this in my speech, I wanted to be that pebble that you tossed out into a body of water, and because of being tossed into that water, it's a ripple effect. And from that ripple effect, I want my story to spread to other people all over the world, and I want people to really understand that being transgender is nothing like you've seen on Jerry Springer's show or the shows that degrade us. We're out there doing great things in the community.
Kendra Holmes, thank you so much for carving out time in your schedule to come on the talk and share your wisdom with us.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks for listening to Be The Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.